I'm here with Ezra Levant, author of the new book, The Enemy Within, Terror, Lies, and the Whitewashing of Omar Khadr, which is an alternative view of Omar Khadr, who has been held captive, the Canadian held captive in Guantanamo Bay. Ezra Levant is one of the most right-wing commentators in Canada. Used to be the communications director for Stockwell Day, was a Conservative candidate in Calgary until Stephen Harper decided to step in and run in his place. And now he hosts a talk show on Fox News North, otherwise known as, I'll let you tell me, Ezra, what's the proper name of Fox News North?
Proper name is the Sun News Network, but I hope we grow up to be a mighty Fox News North with the ratings and the profits they do. But right now we're just a little baby channel.
Okay, this book, The Enemy Within, in a nutshell, what are you trying to get across?
Two things. First of all, to tell that part of the Omar Khadr story that we haven't heard. I mean, the consensus narrative is that he's this little lamb, this poor boy who was swept up in it. I want to tell the other half of that story. But then I want to talk about, well, why is it that this consensus narrative has grown up that he is the victim, that he was an innocent boy? Why are journalists like Judy Rebick comparing him to Nelson Mandela? That's the craziest one, but there's a dozen like that. So I have a theory in the book that he is being used as a tool to discredit the war on terror, the US government, George Bush, CSIS altogether. So he's actually a propaganda tool that people use to attack the war on terror itself.
One of the people you quote at length in this book is a psychiatrist by the name of Michael Welner. And what did Michael Welner have to say about Omar Khadr?
Michael Welner is one of the top forensic psychiatrists in the United States. He's brought in to take on the Hannibal Lecters. Like he's a master forensic psychiatrist. He's even invented new ways of dealing with psychopaths.
You talked about the depravity index.
And so he's well regarded by the FBI, the CIA, and things of that sort. He's spent an enormous amount of time studying Khadr and actually finally capped it off with sitting down with Khadr for 2 days, talking to him, videotaping the whole thing. It was his conclusion that Omar Khadr is very dangerous. And I mean, he wrote a 63-page report explaining why, but I would sum it up in 3 points. Number one, Omar Khadr has shown no remorse or regret for what he did. In fact, the opposite. He sort of feels a sense of entitlement and that he's been hard done by. Number two, Omar Khadr is more fundamentalist and jihadist than even when he was captured. He's memorized the Quran. He leads the services on Guantanamo Bay. So he's much more passionate in jihadism than ever. And finally, his peer group, the kind of people that might steer him away from violence, well, for 10 years he's been hanging out with fellow terrorists at Guantanamo Bay. And his family back here in Canada, well, they're openly supportive of Al-Qaeda. I mean, remember, his dad was a fundraiser for Osama bin Laden. His sister Zainab talks about supporting Al-Qaeda. His brother was injured in a firefight. So all three predictors of this guy going to be dangerous, Omar Khadr's off the charts.
But he has another brother who has sworn off this kind of membership in Al-Qaeda family.
And hopefully hopefully he means it, and hopefully that's true. Yeah. But his mom, Maha, hates Canada, says Canada's a place that'll turn men gay. It's so libertine. And they have used Canada as a safe refuge when they get roughed up in a terrorist firefight. They come back here for free health care. Remember, Omar Khadr's dad was arrested by Pakistan for terrorism, and they pressured Jean Chrétien to spring him out of jail. That was about 15 or 20 years ago now. So they are used to milking Canada for free health care, for political help, for democratic and political liberties that they would deny others. I don't take that family at face value. I call them a crime family, like a mafia crime family. And Omar Khadr just went into the family business. Remember, his dad, Ahmed, he was given everything. He immigrated here from Egypt, got a degree in computer engineering, got a great job. I mean, he could have had the perfect life in Canada, but he chose to fundraise for Taliban and Al-Qaeda forces.
I want to take back to the first point you made. You said that he showed no remorse.
Right.
But in your book, you have him quoted telling the widow of Chris Spears, the man that he killed in that firefight when he was cornered, he said, "I am really, really sorry for the pain I caused your family."
That's right.
You characterize that as a Weasley apology. Some people might say, "I'm really, really sorry for the pain I caused your family," as a sincere expression of remorse.
In Chinese, that would be called an ironic apology. It's not, "I'm sorry for what I did." It's not, "I wish I didn't do it." It's not what I did was wrong. It's I committed a terrorist act because I believe in the jihad and Sharia law for all. The fact that you, Mrs. Spear, lost your husband was not my purpose. So I'm sorry. It's like
How
saying...
do you know that? You haven't talked to him.
Well, because I read the 63-page report that Welner did, and I read many other things about Khadr. For example, he would tell prison guards when he was mad at them, he would say to them that the happiest day of his life was when he murdered Christopher Spear. It was the day he thought he was going to heaven. In fact, when the Americans captured him in Afghanistan, he looked up at them and said in English, "F you, Americans, shoot me now." Because he reached his goal. His life's ambition was to murder an American. He did it. He wanted to get the 72 virgins. And for 10 years, he has not gotten more moderate. He's gotten more bitter, more vengeful. I want to talk about that non-apology for one more second. Understand the difference between "I'm sorry you're upset" and "I'm sorry for what I did." Omar Khadr, and I think he was speaking honestly, said to the widow, "I'm sorry you, Miss Widow," Tabitha Spear. I'm going to use her name because it's never said. People turn Omar Khadr into victim. What about Tabitha Spear, who two kids? Omar Khadr probably genuinely meant what he said to the widow. "I'm sorry you are sad. I'm sorry you are without a husband." But he never once said, "I'm sorry for murdering an American. I'm sorry for my belief in the jihad. I'm sorry for the life I'm on." Chinese people, in Chinese, that's translated as an ironic apology. I don't know how to pronounce it in Chinese. It's exactly what Omar Khadr did.
One of the things in your book, you suggest that Guantanamo Bay, the detention center, was better than any Canadian prison, but you're citing the US government's evaluation, and the International Red Cross has said that the interrogation techniques were tantamount to torture. Why didn't you include the Red Cross's evaluation, the International Red Cross, in your book?
I'll answer both parts of the question. In terms of how luxurious it is, well, just last month they put in a $750,000 soccer field. They got Sony PlayStations. We actually, at the Sun News Network, sent David Aiken down there with a camera. Sony PlayStations, big screen TVs, sports all day. Omar Khadr spends his day doing two things: working out and preaching the jihad to his fellow convicts. I mean, gourmet meals, $100 a day worth of meals. He wants Parmesan cheese on the side. He wants Reeboks, not Nikes. He wants this dandruff shampoo, not that. These are not fake examples. These are real examples I'm giving you. He runs the prison. There was a black...
He runs the prison?
I'll give you an example of what I mean. Look, he's demanding this. I want this health care. And you know, this little lamb, this poor little lamb, the mouth on him. There's a black U.S. servicewoman, the vicious, racist, and sexist terms he has. This is all in the public domain. Charlie, what bugged me about this story, the reason I wrote this story, is because I thought we were only hearing one side of the story. I tried to get confidential documents. I went down to the States. I met with people on the prosecution team. I tried to get scoops and exclusives. They were like a vault. They didn't give me anything. They gave me what was in the public domain. And what was in the public domain was shocking to me about how depraved Omar Khadr is. But what was equally shocking is that any facts that didn't fit with the official narrative were discarded. Did you know that Omar Khadr is a sexist, anti-black racist? Did you know that he tells prison guards that murdering that American was the best day of his life? Did you know that, in fact, you mentioned Amnesty International and the treatment of prisoners. Only 3 prisoners in the United States has captured have been waterboarded, and Omar Khadr was not one of them. And the very first...
And what's the basis for you saying only 3 prisoners were waterboarded? What about rendition? What about people being sent abroad to be tortured?
I'll tell you the very first thing, after Omar Khadr said, "F you Americans, shoot me now," you know what they did? Did they pull out their sidearm and shoot this guy? I mean, he had just murdered...
You're not answering my question, Ezra.
I'm
changing the topic.
I'm coming around to it. I'm coming around to how he was treated. So he just murdered one of their pals, blinded another guy, Lane Morris, and he said, "Kill me now." Imagine
in warfare. He was 15 years old.
A few weeks shy of 16, that's right.
Yeah.
By the way, we recruit soldiers in the Canadian Force at 16. What did they do? Did they pull out a sidearm and put him to rest right there?